Welcome to the Jock Podcast. We've got a fun episode.
Oh, yeah.
Today we've got our guest, Coach Tom Pavia, on our podcast. So Tom is a high school wrestling coach, a military veteran, U.S. Air Force.
Correct. Yeah,
Boom.
that's right.
Mental skills coach, and the founder of 360 Strength Training.
360 Strength Training and Superior Athletes Academy.
Just a long list of amazing
athletes.
athletes.
Author, we'll plug his books and all that at the end. But Tom, welcome on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Great to
I
be
gotta
here,
start
guys.
with the shades, of course.
Yeah,
Before
you know.
we start, we got a new mug. That's his
Oh
dad.
yes, Dad. I'm now officially a dad.
Welcome to the club,
since our
brother.
last
Thank you. Yeah, I need advice from you. You got quite. I
Five
assume.
kids.
Yeah, I assume
five.
you got
I think
some.
we have five, 6, 7. I lost count. I don't
Who's
know.
counting? Oh man.
They're 5.
So Tom, we're excited to get started. I think it would be great for our jocksters to hear a little background on you.
Oh gosh, how long is this
right?
podcast?
Brief, right?
How long is this podcast? Born in the 1800s. No, originally from Brooklyn, New York, raised in Long Island, and had a passion for teaching and coaching, and was a driven athlete back in the day, and love helping others do the same thing, right? And really poured a lot of time and energy, and continue to, not just in the world of high school wrestling, but also in the mental space, right? Trying to understand that landscape and help others be equipped to do that, right? So that's a little bit about me. I have a beautiful bride, Krista, and our 5 kids. Brittany's the oldest, and then we have Logan. He's the only boy, and then we have Isabella, and then Emma, and then Olivia. Yeah, a couple dogs and a cat, and we're good.
Oh
There we
man.
go. That's right.
Are the dogs and cats girls or?
I have no idea.
I was gonna say you're outnumbered as of right now.
No doubt.
That's amazing.
So I think to get started, one of the biggest avenues for the Jock Podcast is the mental side of things.
Right,
So this
right.
fit works. I'm not a fighter or a wrestler myself, but I've been watching Nick wrestle for years and now fight for years.
Yeah.
And I know Nick always preaches like the mental side of things is what separates good fighters and wrestlers from the great ones. So maybe talk through a little bit of that, of like how that edge separates good from great. Maybe not bad from good. But.
So I think it really boils down to, the question I ask every athlete and every parent before I start doing my mental performance training with them and coaching with them is how much of athletic performance is physical and how much of it's mental. Mm-hmm. So typically you'll get answers like 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, 90-10. And then I ask the question, which is the more powerful question, I believe, how much of the mental side, in other words, how many things are you doing, skills and drills and routines that you're not sweating, right, that can show you, that can quantify the mental part. Mm-hmm. And regardless of what they say, which is typically not as much as I should be, or I'm not really sure how to do that, everybody agrees that there's a physical part and there's a mental part, right? So, we kind of start with that and we go from there. And I really point to, the mainstream media a lot. Like I'll go ahead and I'll say, like, if you look at any athlete being interviewed today, right? You don't have to prompt them. They're probably going to tell you about what was going on mentally in some type of performance, whether it's bad or good.
Yeah.
Right? So it's obviously a game changer. And I think more and more it's becoming more prevalent that people really truly understand that I probably need to lean into this a little bit more than I am, right? So I love equipping parents and athletes, parents of athletes and coaches as well with the skills that you need, right, to acquire as you kind of go down the road of trying to perform and be at your best when it counts the most.
Yeah.
So when did you? Because I remember I was 13 when I met you. That's 20 years ago.
See, makes me about 106.
But when I met Coach Pavia, you had us, here I come from Long Island, and you have us writing down our goals and dreams on flashcards, and I'm like, what the? Like, probably all the kids, honestly, are like, what is this? And you, like, it's just a testament to how good of a coach you were. You turned around our team, like a complete 180, Lake Norman High School, like just, it was incredible. So how long ago, like when did this become so prevalent in your life, the mental aspect of sports?
Great question. I have to give, I get goosebumps just hearing that question because it brings me back to an amazing coach who's with the Lord today. and his name is Coach Frank LaBianca, and he wasn't a wrestling coach. At William Floyd High School, he was the cross country coach, and he's in the New York State Hall of Fame, and he was just incredible. I mean, what he did with us as athletes, there were plenty of people that did not like him. You either loved him or you hated him, right? And I loved him. And I got into cross country late because I was too small for football, and he would literally go and try and recruit us, right? But he wouldn't poach. He would try and recruit us and watch us at our wrestling matches. Oh, wow. And he saw how we were cutting weight and how tiny I was, and so he'd grab a couple of us and say, I think you should do cross country next year. So I did cross country for 2 years, fell in love with it, absolutely fell in love with it. And it was because of him. And what he did that I drew from and that kind of sucked me into that world so much was he was able to get you to an emotional state on demand, right? And that emotional state is when he would just get you and coach you in those moments. And what I learned was that for not everybody, but for a lot of us, because the way that he did it, and he was just a master coach, is once he got you to that point, he had you, right? That you were going to get something from that, right? And that would be something that would forever change you, right? So you went from here to here that particular day. Yeah. I don't think we saw it quite clearly at that time, right? Yeah. But looking back all those years, I still reflect on those moments. Like he had us do a 24-hour relay. So we'd run a mile for 24 hours. Here was the thing that he did. He invited 75 schools in Long Island, New York. Not one of them showed up because he didn't want any newspapers because that was the media of the day, right? Yeah. And so they were like, no, if you're not going to kind of advertise and give us some kind of, props on this, then we're not going to do it. He still did it.
Wow.
And that meant we did it. So we went to that old track at William Floyd High School and ran a mile as hard as you could, handed off a baton to the next guy, and did that for 24 hours straight. Wow. And I ran 31 miles. We had one guy that ran 32 miles. And, I remember the average time. I remember my first 4 fastest miles. And we competed, and we were at a point where we were going to break.
Right?
That's
crazy.
Yeah. So, but that was part of how we also did a 1,000-mile club. Okay. So in the summer, you had to run 1,000 miles. It's all honor system.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
and you got to
doing the hard thing. And you got a sweatshirt or a T-shirt for it. Yeah. But you were so proud of that, and you kept a journal and a log that was literally computer paper folded in half, stapled. He was the print shop teacher, so he made them, and it had William Floyd Cross Country printed on there.
Wow.
So you were doing that then for pride, for pushing yourself. You weren't posting it on Instagram.
No.
That's what's amazing about that whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you look at that, and you're like, I can do hard things. Right, but I don't look at so much I can do, even though there's a fact there. He provided that opportunity, right, and he had us believing in ourselves before we did, right, or this guy anyway. Yeah, and so I went into a.
So then, does that also
passionate drive into that space?
Yeah, in that example, like, was he setting it up to where you're doing these hard things? Now you run a 3-mile cross country meet, and it looks
exactly. Ironically enough, my mom picked me up. We started at 5 o'clock, ended at 5 o'clock on a Saturday, and of course we're all wiped out. I went home right to bed. I had to wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning because the next day we're going off to wrestling camp.
That's crazy.
The first day of wrestling camp, I'd say anywhere between 300 to 500 kids that were there. Yeah. In upstate Pennsylvania. We did I think it was a 3-mile or a 5-mile run. So I was like, okay, let's go.
Dang, is that even legal? Like, could they even get away with just doing that?
Probably not.
That's crazy. Yeah, but
probably not.
That's amazing. You have a knack for, like, do you feel like you have a knack for discovering and understanding somebody's mental side? Because when I was wrestling, you called me out when I was young. You may not remember this. I remember this. You told me my ability wasn't my issue. You said your doubt is. And look what it did. It stuck with me. And then every time going through fighting, like that hits. Like I start to doubt. I'm like, nope, not today. That's not. And right there because of you. So do you feel like you're good at finding that athlete and seeing through them and understanding what their issue is mentally and then addressing that accordingly?
I'll answer that real quick and say yes to a fault. Yes, to a fault, because there's plenty of athletes, and I say plenty, it's a very small handful, if I'm being really, really transparent and honest, of kids, now grown men, most of them, right, that the timing wasn't right, or the presentation wasn't right. I believe that God's gifted me with a couple of things. Outside of a couple of things, that's it, right? I mean, and I'm being really, I'm not trying to be like, give you some false humility here. I really believe that, right? So I think I am pretty good at seeing that, connecting with athletes, but not every athlete connects the same way, right? And I'm still working on improving that, even to this day. Yeah, because you got that and you benefited from that, is what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
Right? And I praise God for that. But there's been some that were like, no, I didn't like the way he talked to me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it's
and maybe that's not their path, maybe like that's not their path.
And I think it's also God works all things together for our good.
Yep.
Right? So what that particular person may have received in a way where there was no malice behind it, right? But you know me, I can be pretty intense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could not, to some athletes, it's like, whoa, back up, coach. You know what I mean? So it depends, really.
Yeah, and then you have some athletes that I'm sure are like, "What? Just keep feeding me, whatever you got."
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So well, that's tough too, because like in that scenario, do you see where athletes are usually self-aware of how their thoughts are like working against them?
Ooh,
like in this scenario, Nick was obviously doubting himself.
Right.
You maybe
well back then I didn't realize how impactful that was. It similar to the gentleman you mentioned earlier. Years later, for some reason, the epiphany of that I'm doing that now, and now I'm like I was older, I understood it. I'm like done, not doing that anymore.
So I guess maybe the
seeds, right? The seeds that are planted.
Seeds that are planted.
Maybe the question there is like, one, how do you find that in an athlete? Is it just getting to know them and you know that person, and that's how you know that they're
part of
in
it.
Their head?
That's definitely part of it. No question
about it. And then how do you locate it and kind of maybe not fix it is the right word, but work on that?
I think you have to be an observer, right? That's part of being a coach. You have to observe. You have to listen. If my wife is hearing this, I do that sometimes, right? But and you have to kind of see, okay, this is probably the latter part of my career, I would say, the second half of my career as a coach. You have to not only listen, but you have to say, okay, what is their style of learning, right? And you think as a teacher, a longtime teacher and coach, that I would get that a little bit sooner. But I was so focused, and to some degree still am, focused on the truth and the delivery of that fact, right? That I would sacrifice the presentation softening if I need to soften it with a particular kid. And I'm using that word soften, right? Maybe it's just a better presentation at the end of the day, right? But I would never typically not move forward with that message.
Yeah.
And I have a couple in my head that I got pretty intense with some athletes where I said, I'm going to tell you the truth. This is what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that because I love you. I'm not telling you that because I want to hurt you.
Yeah.
Right? And some athletes get that, some don't. And quite honestly, I have to take ownership of okay, some coaches get that and don't. So now as I look at myself, how can I get better, right? At the delivery.
Yeah.
And so, I just look to the Lord.
So complex. Like it really, you need to teach, you need to coach coaches at this point, I think. And then seriously,
Maybe.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Then they, all these athletes get just a big spiderweb system of everybody growing.
Well, it's really kind of why I wrote the books, right? I mean, Parents Playbook, how to raise mentally tough athletes.
Yeah.
Is not raising
bring
mentally tough athletes, right? It's not me telling you how to parent, but it's telling you that there are tools inside that book. And what I wanted to do is create some books that had no fluff, right? That were just straight message and tools that you can use in there, that you're going to write inside that book. You're going to want to take notes when you read that book. And I've gotten some great feedback from a handful of people that have shared that with me. And I'm excited about what it can do, because at the end of the day, if you're not using the tools that you have available to you, right, to become better, then you either need accountability. And this is the wonderful thing about accountability. Accountability is not, I'm doing this to you. Accountability is, I'm doing this for you, right? And that mental shift right there is huge.
Yeah.
Like the mental shift of, you don't have to fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
To prove yourself to your family, to prove yourself to yourself, even though you may feel that, right? To prove yourself to anyone. But you get to do this?
Yeah.
The have to versus the get to?
Oh, yeah.
The get to is grateful. The have to is unneeded pressure. right? At the end of the day, and when we make that just little slight shift, and we start buying into that process, it becomes a lot more joyful. You start to compete or perform with more freedom.
Yeah,
right,
for sure. That paradigm shift. I had that in my last camp. Previously, I put so much weight on me and it sucked. I hated going to practice. I didn't want to go to practice.
Yeah.
I would through discipline, but this last camp,
Yeah.
it was joyful. It was
Good.
exciting. So I
Then
could
you had a
definitely
great
relate.
breakthrough too, right?
I did. But yeah, so aligning this with your faith, I guess I assume that's really where that's what matters more.
100%.
So is everything you do, all of this, is that rooted first in scripture, or does that kind of do you just kind of work tandemly together with that, or?
So as it relates to like how I'm providing a service, a paid service as a coach, right? As a mental performance coach, a certified mental performance coach. Yes, I want to give people options, right? But at the end of the day, it's all scripture.
Yeah.
Right? And at the end of the day, it's all, okay, how can I glorify God? Right? Me. Right?
So,
and it's not up to me, but it's up to me to make decisions on how I present things.
So get a little deep real quick with this.
Yeah, of course.
When you have an athlete, because you're such a strong Christian, when you have an athlete that may not have the beliefs that you do, do you still, how do you deal with that?
That's a great question. I think of one athlete right now from Bradford Prep that I coach that I love all those kids, and I love all the kids that I've ever coached, even the ones that don't like me, right? And this particular young man, I won't use his name just out of respect, but he told me he doesn't believe, right? And so I was really taken back by that. Like I was surprised because he's just this joyful person, and you think like, okay, like why do I have to think that if he's joyful, he must be a Christian, right? But there's fruit, right? There's fruit to show from your faith, right? So fruit of the Spirit. So to answer that question, love more. Just love him more. Like show him more, not so he can see Coach Pavia, the human being, but so that he can see Christ. Right? So even though he graduated, I know in my heart that we're going to keep in touch. Right? And I'm very, very, we had a really strong relationship. And he wasn't the greatest wrestler. He wasn't the greatest athlete. But man, what a great kid, man. Just a great human being. And I just know that God is working inside him. It's not for me, right, to decide. And that's not me saying I don't have responsibility in the nurturing, right? I don't have responsibility in, him seeing Christ in me. But at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about glorifying God,
Amen.
So.
Amen to that.
I hope that answers the question.
No, it does. And we talk about that a lot of like some of the strongest Christian out there, the most peaceful, the most like, when you look at that person, you're like, wow, I want to be like that. And then that's how you see God through those people.
Right. No doubt.
It's incredible. Yeah,
and I think we all, and you guys, as you get older and you'll see and reflect more, and you're at a point where you probably can already. Praise God for that. I know that I can reflect on some of the people that have just been so inspirational and so impactful in my life when it comes to God's word, when it comes to showing me what a Christian family looks like, right? Showing me what Christian people should look like and trying to still aspire to that, right? So behind this old face is a young guy still trying to get after it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and just praise God for the opportunity, to do that every day.
I love it.
So now I want to take a turn into your coaching and your mental skills, the mental skills side of things outside of just wrestling coaching.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about who you tend to coach, how you started on this journey, right? Because you've always been a high school or a wrestling coach in general, but this has been more of a
where'd you elevate it?
Venture for you, right?
Yeah.
So
it boils down to how does it go? Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So a lot of that. You have 5 kids and you are working on a teacher's salary in North Carolina, you better find a way to have a side hustle, right? Yeah. So it really stemmed from that, and it's like, what can I do? So when you stay in your wheelhouse, I knew that I was pretty good at being able to, equip kids with skills as it relates to athletics, right? Wrestling and so on and so forth. And I coached cross country as well before. I'm actually going to be coaching it again. And so I knew, and I always was down this rabbit hole that I thought was a good rabbit hole to kind of continue this focus, and I think in my head the word fight, for equipping people that I saw as a coach that fell short all the time. And knowing what that emotion feels like. Like for some folks that don't understand the value of it, and it's not casting shade by saying this, it's just an observation, is, hey, it's just a game. It's just a sport. Yes and no, right? Because some of these experiences help shape the men that we become, right? In this case, right? And women in some cases as well. But so I saw that and I was like, I think I can do this. So I started doing that, and basically it was trial and error. And I started to create my own little program. And I've always had an entrepreneur in me. I didn't know that. And as I look back, I saw the breadcrumb trails. When I was 16 years old, I loved popping and street dancing. I loved it, right? And I thought I was okay at it. And then I would see other people do it. I'm like, okay, they're way better than I am. But I loved 2 turntables and a microphone. I loved it. So I worked in the Hamptons, made a lot of money, probably illegally too, because I was young and I was running a complete store out in Southampton or wherever, right? Got a lot of cash. I don't remember ever filling out any paperwork, by the way. And so I had like $1,000 cash, and we went to Delancey Street, me and my crew in New York City, and bought equipment and records and everything. And I had that all the way through college, made some money. So that entrepreneur and creative spirit, I was blessed with, I guess, right? And some people that have it way better than I do. But yes, I've always found that kind of always returning back to that. What can I create and to really, help my family at the end of the day.
And that's incredible. So now, when athletes first come to you, what is their mindset like? Like why are they coming to you, and what do you help them with?
Great question, by the way, because it's such a misnomer. It's such an everyone thinks that mental performance is about, there must be something wrong with you.
Correct.
Right? So it has that stigma attached to it. And I just had a session today with probably one of my best athletes, and she's young. And I'm reminding her that, remember, this is not just about break in case of emergency, right? I'm glad that you're seeing that I can have these tools. I use what's called a reset tool. She loves using it, and she uses it. But aside from that, mental performance is mental preparation at the end of the day, right? But like Jesus meets us where we're at, I've always thought about, I need to meet them where they're at. So I'm fortunate that I've gotten it down to a really, really good system of this intake questionnaire that I use, Google form, right? And I tweak it depending on the athlete a little bit here and there, but it gives me some great data points. And I spend about 3 or 4 hours on a customized report. Oftentimes it's 15 to 20 pages. It's not overwhelming though. It's the parent and the athlete both doing it together, unless they're a college athlete, right? Or above. And so I get all this information, and then it almost without fail targets the issue that they're having without them even saying anything to me. So they'll go ahead and put all these little self-ratings, and then it kind of spits out the information to a degree. They're like, oh my gosh, that is me. So all of a sudden you have a bump already right out of the gate that they're like, he knows what I'm going through, or he can relate, or I'm going to have some help here. Look, mom, dad, look, or athlete. Oh my gosh, that is exactly it. And so we go from there, and it always boils down to that one question that I shared earlier.
Do you, is your main demographic those youth athletes?
So right now I've got anywhere from young middle school, right? Even I have one that's not middle school. So studies have shown 8 to 10 years old is the best place to introduce your kids to mental performance training. And most parents think that's way too soon because they don't understand it. They think it's all about winning, and it's way more than that. Right? So, but if you look at it, you can just do a Google search, look up, use Chat GPT if you like, whatever you want to use, you'll find it. It exists. And so 8 to 22 plus, I have currently, I did have 3 college athletes. I have 1 now, right? And it's a college wrestler, Division II guys, absolute stud. And then I have a bunch of high schoolers from mostly the East Coast. And then I've got some middle schoolers as well.
Mostly wrestlers?
I would say if you looked at the breakdown, yes,
Okay.
but not all wrestlers.
A wrestler's
I've got a
the hardest?
softball player. No, I've got a softball player. I've got a track athlete. They're not the hardest.
No.
I don't think there's a hardest.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're dealing with the mind,
Yeah.
right? I think what can become hard is me being the coach, not just a mental performance coach. I have an opportunity where they've got permission to speak to me in a certain way. They can push back and say, hey, coach, this routine doesn't resonate with me. That's the word I'll use. It doesn't vibe with me, whatever they use.
Yep.
Right? And I tell them that all the time. I want you to push back.
Yeah.
This needs to fit for you, right? And so far, that's going great. And then there's other athletes, and not a lot of them. I can think of one that I have in my cohort. And there's just not enough discipline with the physical part, ironically enough.
So is it an obstacle for you when because you were a great wrestling coach on top of the mental skills. So is it an obstacle? I mean, it's true. You can see it with the teams you coach, but is it an obstacle to have an athlete that you are coaching mentally, but not in the wrestling aspect? So maybe you see some things that you wish that you could improve in their wrestling game. And, is that weird?
It's funny. A little bit of weird. Yeah, a little weird. Only because, so there's a kid in Pennsylvania that I'm working with right now. Absolute stud. Right, really great kid. He's going to be a junior this year. Wants to be a state champ, and it's not just, because that's the pinnacle in high school athletics. But he's doing all the right things. He's checking all the boxes, right? So yeah, I told him. I said very recently. I said, hey, send me a few clips.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen him in the beginning because his dad sent it, but that was because his dad wanted to kind of get to the root of the matter, which we're addressing, and he's being equipped. So much of it's an equipping of. It's meeting them where they're at, showing them that this is not magic, right? Confidence is not something that floats around, right? Confidence comes from three places, and there's three parts: preparation, past experiences, and present moment thinking. The third being the toughest.
Wow, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you listen to Jalen Brunson in his interviews, right, he says it's all about the preparation, right? Because that's where he gets his confidence from. It's those summers in the gym with his dad. Right, all the way back in the day. So he goes all the way back, and I call it, using your evidence locker. Right, what kind of evidence? So many athletes, right? They don't use enough of what's right in front of them, not because they don't want to, but because they don't really understand. Like, yeah, I do all this. Like, this little check boxes could really be part of that evidence locker that speaks to the mind in a way. That's why it's so important of how we speak to someone else, because often how we speak to someone else is how we're speaking to ourselves, right? And choosing those words carefully, right?
Yeah.
So God's made us overcomers, right? He's made us conquerors. Yeah. So if he's made us those, then we could use the power of the Holy Spirit, right? And you can take that wherever you want, but it's powerful.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Would you ever get into coaching non-athletes? Because I think there's so much tie into, like, you think of, like, the high motivational person that still wants to exercise, do a great job of work, or the entrepreneur. There's so many analogies.
100%. The business owners really would love that. I love anyone that's driven, right? Anyone that's driven and has some goals and dreams in their lives. The phrase that so many people have heard me say for so many years.
That's good. I can't hear that without thinking about Coach Pavia.
It's funny because I remember Harrison Honeycutt, who was one of the best that ever stepped on a mat in North Carolina, right? One of the wrestlers at Lake Norman High School. He made fun of me at the awards banquet, and it was a good make fun of him, right? Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's what he hears all the time. Yeah. It's like goals and dreams, goals and dreams, goals and dreams, right? And I'm like, well, that's not too bad. It could be worse, right? So but it's funny.
That's funny because that is literally the next segment that I have. Goals and dreams.
Right. Let's go.
Perfect.
Did not see that.
So Nick had mentioned this earlier of the importance of writing down your goals and dreams. That's something that you apparently have preached for years, right?
Yes.
Why is that so powerful?
It really comes down to the science of it, right? You learn only so much listening, right? You learn only so much visualizing. But when you are writing, you have that kinesthetic connection of writing, right? And seeing and hearing and doing. It's a game changer. It catapults you into the top 1%, right? And that's what the science says. So, and you're doing that on a consistent basis. Now, I don't know what the science is to writing in your diary. That seems a little bit more therapeutic, which is not bad.
Yeah.
But journaling is a tool. I'm actually working on a book right now, and it's taking my Journal for Success book, I didn't bring it with me, and really creating it to become a system of journaling, right? And it's for athletes, competitors, and just anybody that's driven, right?
Yeah.
And really kind of takes you through some mental performance training worksheets, right? And I don't even like the word worksheets because that sounds, I don't know. I don't like the way it sounds. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I believe that this could be a game changer because the biggest challenge with people that want to journal and that do it is sticking to it.
Yeah.
Is the consistency and discipline.
That's so true. So I'm someone that's always trying to figure out how to improve.
Yeah.
So I've bought and purchased multiple books to journal, and out of everything I've ever done, you're right, I always end up stopping quickly. There's been 2 books that were extremely impactful, but there's been several where I do it for 3 days and I'm like, it's not doing it for me. And it's, so the monotony of it is just not for me. So I'm excited to see what.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. I will say you might, we've gotten to the source of here. Every time I step into Nick's home, I do see the post-it notes and the writing on the videos.
I think about that.
So, it's been for years.
Yep.
It has been. So it's incredible.
Refrigerator, bathroom, bedroom.
Yep.
Right? Where you visit the most, right? Think about it.
There was one in the bathroom just today.
Yeah.
Actually, my mother-in-law left a nice reminder. That's
cool.
But I'm big on the mirror. I like the bathroom mirror because you're in there multiple times a day.
That's right.
Brushing your teeth. My wife, she's making me brush my teeth, floss, but it really makes a difference. Holds you accountable.
Yeah.
Bible verses. Do you ever?
All the time.
Yep. Wow.
All right, cool. And then next, I want to talk a little bit about complacency and growth from that.
Sure.
So, if you're a competitive athlete, you know, it's easy to get a big head, or you have a few successful, you win a few matches, you do whatever. I'm sure you could see a bit of a plateau in complacency. Where do you see that happen, and then how do you push athletes past that? Like, is it lighting a fire under them? Is it what does it look like?
I think for me, what I've learned, and this is straight from Coach Frank LaBianca, God bless him. He would always say these quips and sayings throughout practice, and you're running, and you're like, why is he saying this now? Right? And we didn't realize, and again, this is my interpretation of it, that he was peppering these multiple mental reps, right, of hearing that over and over and over again. And we could probably get people from the 1960s all the way through, to year 2000 plus when he stopped coaching. That could tell you the same exact ones without even meeting each other. You know what I mean? So I think so much of it has to do with how I structure practice and getting that out, constantly so that people can hear it. And so, to give you an example, let the praises come from other men's mouths, not your own, right? So I'll constantly say that. Right? When someone says you're doing well, say thank you, and then get back to work. Right? So whether you believe in that or not, that's been said, and because of the reps and the practices that you're going to, it's going to land somewhere. Right? And so part of it is how I would design practice. Right? And it's just a natural kind of thing that I do, organic thing that I do. I don't think it makes me special or good in any way, but that's how. Yeah, I would do that.
Well, we could honestly, I fed Coach a double espresso before we started, so I know we're trying not to keep you all night. So I'm going to transition into, before I transition into what I really am curious about, I do want to know when you deal with these top level athletes, just for anybody listening, if you're interested in hiring Coach and taking them on and onboarding on, you're in your camp, or mainly the fighters right now. Yeah. What are you confident in that you are going to be able to deliver and give them that? I believe the word you used to use was it the mental edge? Yeah. What's the number one thing you think, or I guess, what's the number one reason why they should reach out to you?
Oh wow. I would say belief level. I'm going to raise your belief level. I'm going to raise your confidence. When I say it's really going to be you, right? I'm going to give you the tools and equip it for you. When I hear other people say things about me as a coach and mental performance coach, it kind of, and then you start to see a tendency of the same things being said, I don't even realize it. I don't even realize it. But when I hear it, it makes me well up. It gets me excited. And then, so to answer your question, confidence and belief level. And you really, it's such a kind of vanilla kind of thing to say, I could say something else, but it also depends on the athlete too, right? I'll meet the athlete where they're at. I am 100% confident because God, right, Jesus Christ above all, that I'm going to be able to help them level up. Some are going to have huge jumps. Some are going to have somewhat significant jumps, but everyone's going to improve. Yeah. So no question about that.
That may sound vanilla to the non-athlete or maybe not a fighter, but to whoever is listening that is a fighter or a wrestler, as well as I do, that that last week of fight camp or even throughout the whole 8 weeks or whatever it is, that's the problem. You're going through those doubts and the belief that is the struggle. You're doing what your coach says, but if you're listening and you are a fighter, that's the problem. So I think that resonates with a lot of people.
That's the perfect segue to the second and final book. I think it could be a good ending point too.
Yeah.
Called The Last Rep. So,
right. So I would say this, and thank you so much.
We're going to include the segments in the links in the description as well.
Thank you.
But yeah, talk about it.
So really excited about The Last Rep, right? Champions being forged when no one's looking, right? How they're forged when no one's looking. And it's a system that I've created where we have attitude, which is a choice, right? Work ethic, which is effort versus standard, right? And then mindset, which is the lens in which you see yourself, right? And then reset, an actual tool that you have a bad day, you don't feel like going to practice. I mean, how many times does that happen? I would tell you on average, 5 out of 10 for most athletes. The driven athletes, 5 out of 10 times they don't want to be there, right? In parts of the day, but they go through and they push themselves and they're able to do that, right? So the reset is for that, kind of resetting yourself to know how to take care of those feelings so feelings don't dictate performance, right? As well as in real time. Because in real time is when some athletes are like, the wheels come off the cart.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about fighting, it's one punch.
Yeah.
Right? It's one punch that you get rocked, right? And do you have the ability to reset and get back in the game, whether it's fighting until you get to the bell, right, and get to your corner and you get a few blows, right, and continuing that reset to focus on the things that got you there, to focus on the things that you do well, and kind of get back into that lane. All of this,
a free lesson right now.
Yeah, all of this is in that book. The challenge is you're going to get. I really believe there's no fluff in that book. You're going to get some great tools that will help you right away. What I'm able to bring is an accelerant to that, right? So there's nuances and there's levels to the game of success, right? Success leaves clues. Plenty of people have heard that. And what I've heard parents share with me and athletes share with me as it relates to mental performance training is, I don't know, you just get to know me. Like that's what they said. You just know me. Like they say that without me asking them, right? And the other thing is that I just feel more confident when you're coaching me, right? So that's awesome. Right?
That's amazing, and thank you for sharing that. I love what you said. And this, don't make fun of us. We call our followers jocksters.
Yeah,
I know. We got to work on that. His idea. No, I love it. I love it.
We love our job.
But our jocksters can definitely relate to what you just said, because that's exactly what we're talking about on the Jock Podcast. Is attitude is a choice, and I don't think a lot of people believe that anymore. Yeah, so I was really happy to hear you say that. And then the last thing before we wrap things up,
and let me interrupt you real quick.
Please, as many times as you want.
So attitude is not just a choice, it's a decision, right? And so that decision is to eliminate other things, right? Okay. So here's the nerd in me, and I do this actually in the classroom, right? When you look at, and this might sound a little dark here, you look at the word genocide, suicide, and homicide. CID on the end, CID on the end, CID, D-side. How'd that word get in there? Well, if you look at the root of the word, right, it means to kill off, right? So to kill off what? To kill off your options. So when you're making a decision, right? When you're making a decision, it's powerful.
Yeah.
Right? And so not only that, but the attitude is not just a decision, but we focus on two things. Like when I'm coaching my athletes, and it also talks about in the book, It's an attitude towards the process, and it's an attitude towards adversity. And that covers everything as it relates to the thing that you want most, which is the result. But when you focus on the result first, when you have future thinking, no bueno. The mind is designed to protect us, right? So every single solitary competition that we have, every single solitary performance, it could be a speech, it could be a podcast episode, there's an undetermined outcome. So the mind, why do we get nervous? The mind is wired to, oh my gosh, there's a bear, right? That's how this is the example I use for my wrestlers. What are you going to do? You're going to do one of two things. You're either going to fight the bear or you're going to run, right? Those are the only two things you're going to do, right? So your mind is designed and hardwired to do that. So when you have an attitude towards the process, know the process, know what it's doing for you, right? And then make some tweaks and adjustments there if you're not getting the result and you're doing the process near perfect, right? And then attitude towards adversity, spend a little bit more time in that one. Plan for it, right? Plan for you got your chin rocked and you haven't had your chin rocked ever, right? Plan for it. What's going to happen in those situations? And how are you going to be feeling, right? Because I would close with this by saying that I tell my athletes all the time, I don't care how you're feeling. I care. Yeah. I love you. I care. I really do care. But I don't care how you're feeling as it relates to what you're trying to do, right? Because feeling, have you ever felt bad before and had a great result? Yes. Have you ever felt great before and had a bad result? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So how much does feeling really have to do with it?
This is amazing. I love it. I love it. So last thing, we've heard you mention it a few times throughout the podcast, your faith. At the end of the day, what is your why? Why are you doing all of this? And what matters most to you?
Well, well done, good and faithful servant, right? I mean, I hope my last breath, right? I hope that's a long time away, but that, Jesus says, well done, right? I mean, that's the why, right? And I think trying to become a better husband, trying to become a better father, trying to become a better follower of Jesus Christ, at the end of the day, that's what it really means. Yeah, that's everything.
All right.
That's how we got to end it.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, wait,
right,
where's my...
I got to cheers on the way out.
I love
you
it.
so much
I love it. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach. I got nothing to drink.